Cool. So I think we are live. So welcome everyone. Today I have the honor and privilege of being able to interview Lisa Jimenez. Me and Lisa, we started working together back in, I think it was around late November or mid-November, if I'm not mistaken, Lisa. And, I think I remember where you were at and the difficult place that you were at the time. And, you were obviously pretty emotional and so forth with everything that was happening in your life. I think it was almost like a bit of, divine intervention or something in terms of just our stars aligning and so forth to be able to work with you. But one of the things that I think was just really evident to me was just for you, just the journey that you came from, which was just being in a really, really dark space, and then to where you are now, where you just seem so light and so bubbly and joyful and so forth. And I love it. Like, it's such a joy to be around your energy as well. So I think it was the reason I thought it'd be really good for people to hear about your story is because, to really recognize that transformation is real, but it's not this rosy journey that, people kind of make it out to be, where you just find self-love and all that good stuff, like it's really about going nice and deep into yourself. And so, I just wanted to firstly thank you for doing this interview. And it's awesome. And one thing that would be good just to start off with anyway is just if you can maybe give a bit of an overview of sort of where you were at when, we started working together and the challenges that you were having in your marriage. And then we can go from there.
Okay, well, when I first called you, my husband had left me, and he had left me for somebody he was working with, and he had moved out of the house, and I was panicked, and I didn't know what to do, and I really wanted to work on my marriage. I really wanted to save it, but it started to become apparent that he wasn't going to come back home.
Sure.
And so by the time I called you, I was just in a place where I didn't know what to do. And I remember you asked me, what is it you want? And I remember I couldn't tell you. And I said, I don't know anymore. I don't know if I want him to come home. I don't know if I don't want to be with him. I just felt so lost. At that point in time, I was crying every day. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I had lost, I think, like 25 pounds. And to top it all off, I was a brand new nurse. And was like going into this journey of a brand new career. It's already scary. And we worked together in the same hospital.
Well, there we go.
And the woman he left me for also worked there.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
It's like a triple whammy. So by the time I got to you, I was going on blind faith because at that time I was seeing a therapist, but I didn't feel like it was enough because the help that they were giving me was just so limited, and they couldn't really give me any advice. It's just I would just sit there and just talk and talk and talk, and then I would see them like the next week. But I didn't feel like I was getting anywhere. I felt like I was just talking to somebody who just wasn't interrupting me, like friends do.
Yeah.
But I needed help because I felt like I couldn't move past where I was.
Yeah, and I think the thing that I remember, I don't know if you remember, but you had initially had a call booked in on a particular day, and then
I was just gonna mention that how I blew you off, and I was like, I don't want to do this.
And I was like, oh, here we go, But I thought, look, I'll just check in and just make sure that she's okay, and that was genuinely one of the things I could tell, even just from your messages. You're like, nah, I'm done. I'm screwed. I can't make any progress. You were just in a really, really dark space. And, sometimes people have these calls with me and they don't show, and that's fine. But, I could tell in your situation there was just something a little bit deeper going on there. And that's why I kind of thought, oh, look, I'll just message you. And then I think from memory, you sent me about 10 photos of your family and everything that was going on in your life. And, and then it was kind of like, look, let's just have a chat and let's just see where you're at, And I think that's what I think when I look at you, I think one of the things that I'm just so, proud of you is the fact that where you were at in that really dark space to where you are now it's just night and day. Like, you're just in a completely different space, which is a real credit to you in terms of all of the work that you put in during that time.
I mean, it was work. It was work, but I felt like I was worth it, and it was worth the effort. But like you said, it wasn't anything rosy. I mean, I really had to like do the work and really look at myself. And I think you get out what you put in. And so I really wanted to get to another place. And so, I mean, there were times after I talked to you where it was just so hard, just like face the things that we talked about. But just one of those things where once you get past it, you know, in retrospect, you're like, okay, I can do this. I can do this.
Yeah.
And then so when I think about that time that I blew you off and like where I was, and I remember that day because I remember like my ex had pissed me off and he like sent me some like, I don't know, we just got into it and then I was like, I'm sorry, Sri, I can't do this all. And then I mean, I don't know, it's amazing. Like I can't even imagine being in that place again. And I just, like you said, I feel so lighthearted. I mean, my issues are still there, and I still face them every day. But I feel like my outlook and the way I approach them is so different that it just makes the biggest difference.
I think, you know, so just for a little bit of background for everyone else, Lisa is going through, a separation at the moment, or going through, all the legal proceedings and so forth, and I think I wanted to shoot this video because I want everyone to recognize that it's not always a case of just, do this, and then you save your marriage, There's often so many things that come along, when you've got together with someone and you've been together with someone for, 20 plus years and so forth. There's a lot of things that are involved in that, So it's not just the simple rosy, outcome that we all kind of want. I know we want that, but ultimately I believe that, God or the universe, whatever you subscribe to, is going to support you for your highest good and for your highest level of growth. And if that's what you need to go through in order to get to that next level of growth, that's what you'll actually end up going through as part of your journey. So part of it was, I think I wanted to make sure people actually learned that. But I think secondly, it was really about, one of the things that always stood out to me, I remember you saying to me that when you were the most broke, financially and so forth in the past, that was when you were the happiest. And what it actually told me, or reinforced to me, was the fact that our external circumstances don't have to dictate how we feel on the inside. And that's why a huge amount of the work that I do is about working on the individual, so that you then can start to look at things from a totally different angle. How did you, where did you kind of get that sort of mindset? How did you develop that ability to sort of look at things from a beautiful place, even when the external world was sort of felt like it was sort of caving in for you?
I got tired.
Yeah.
It weighs on me every day. I felt it every day. And I got tired of it. And I really wanted to just get out of that space. And I remember telling you that I had everything and felt like I had nothing. I had nothing and felt like I had everything.
That's right.
And when we had nothing, I felt like we were working as a team. But then as, he became more successful and we had more, it seemed like the more we had, the less I had. And by the time, we were at the place where I had found you, I was just so devastated and I got tired. And I looked at myself and I looked at my children. And I just realized that I was so sad all the time that it was really starting to affect them too. And I knew I couldn't change them. You can never change anyone. You can only change yourself. So I stepped back and I thought about it. I knew the only person I could change was me. So, and that's, I was like, okay, we have to have some kind of change, and he's not going to change. So I'm going to just work on myself, and we'll see what happens.
If, just for the benefit of everyone else, could you maybe just talk a little bit about where you're at as far as your marriage goes, what happened, what got you to that point where you were like, look, I need some help, or, or even just what got you to the place where you had to start questioning the marriage and the challenges that you were going through at the time? If you can do that, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, so like I said, in the beginning when we were together, we had nothing, and we would always work together. We were advancing our careers together, and, we started doing really well. Well, about a year before he had left, I had noticed that he was working a lot. In a textbook, like if you open a Cosmo and they say like, oh, these are the signs of someone's cheating. But I never felt that. I was always lucky, and I always felt like, okay, I need to support him. But then I started noticing things started to change. Like he would be home, but it's like he wouldn't be there. Like I would ask him what was wrong, and he wouldn't talk to me. And I remember one day I told him, I said, you always look happy when you're getting ready to go to work. And he was like, no, that's not true. And I think we just got caught up in our life. I was in nursing school. He was working 2 jobs, and there just wasn't time. But I felt like we were okay. And so the day that he told me he didn't love me, I felt blindsided.
Yeah.
And for months, I was just like, oh, I didn't see this coming. But in retrospect, I think I saw it coming, but I just didn't want to see it.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think that's where I was. And I think he had gotten to the point where he was just checked out emotionally. And then of course, he was working with somebody, and he kind of opened up to her, and they opened up together. And and I remember telling him when he told me he loved her, I said, well, you're so guarded. You wouldn't talk to me about anything, and you found somebody and you opened up your heart a little bit. You didn't think everything would just spill out and your heart would follow her. And he was just like, no. And I feel that's what happened. I feel like we just lost that emotional connection, and he found it with someone else. And I think they found kind of like they had similar situations. She wasn't happy in her marriage. She wasn't. I don't know if he wasn't necessarily happy in our marriage, but I think maybe he felt alone. Because I was never home, I was at school, and he was at work, and then they kind of just found each other. Yeah. So so by the time he had told me that he didn't love me, he had feelings for her for 2 years.
Absolutely. And how did you respond when you found out about all of this?
I was in shock because I really felt blindsided. And when he told me he didn't love me, I remember it because we were at Cheesecake Factory. He ruined Cheesecake Factory for me, but anyway.
Very good.
I really said, I'm so sorry, I don't love you anymore. And I remember I said, okay, it's okay. And I remember he started to weep. And I hugged him and I said, it's okay, everything's going to be okay. Because at that point in time, I thought I could fix it. So I asked him, is there somebody else? And he said no. And so I thought, okay, I can fix this. So at that point in time, I didn't feel panicked. I just felt like, you know what, we're hitting a bump. I'm busy, you've been busy. Of course we still love each other. It was later where I found out that there was somebody else. That's when the panic hit. Because I was thinking, how am I going to fix this? But at that time, I was still more than willing to fix it. And I told him, we can get over this. This is something that we can work through. Excuse me. But at that point, he said he was done. But I wasn't done. So I was still trying, and I still had faith. And, I tried and I prayed and I offered, I said, let's go to counseling. He was like, no, I'm done. And so I was in real panic mode because he started moving fast forward. I mean, he wanted to be with her. He wanted to move out of the house. And I said, we have 3 small children. Are you sure this is what you want to do? And he's just like, I'm so sorry. And he left. I was in shock. I mean, I was in shock. And I hadn't been working for years. So I just finished nursing school. I was working as a brand new nurse for 1 month. He told me this in May. And I had just started my job in May. I mean, I had no money. I mean, I still have no money. But I think what made it weird too was that we had really traditional roles. And so he took care of all of the finances, everything. And I never questioned anything. And now he walked out, and I didn't even know how to pay the water bill. And I feel so embarrassed to say that, but that was his role. And so now I'm left with 3 small children. My mom had just moved in, so now it feels like 4 kids, let's be honest. laughed, and he's just like, well, I can't do this, I can't be here. And I'm like, well, I don't know what to do. And then on top of that, like I said, I supported him while he was moving up in his career. So he makes like, 4 times more money than I do. And so not only do I not know how to pay the bills, I don't have enough money to pay the bills.
Sure.
On top of that, my heart is broken. I'm trying to figure out how am I going to save my marriage? How am I going to support my children? And I mean, it was just, I didn't know what to do. I mean, I was devastated. I was crying every day, and I was forcing myself to go to work, and it was such a dark time.
Absolutely. What do you think, like, just, during those few years or whatever where things started to kind of deteriorate a little bit, what was everyday life like during that time where almost you just probably roommates to some extent, just kind of coexisting a little bit? What was life like for you guys?
It was like we were 2 ships passing because I was in nursing school and I had clinicals. Yeah. So my day would literally start like at 5 in the morning, and I wouldn't get home until like 8 or 9. Well, he's a nurse and he works nights, so his day would start like at 6 p.m. So we would see each other hardly ever. And then when we did see each other, like you said, it was like we were roommates. Like we had to get things done. Like we had to go to Costco. We had to do this. And I mean, there was just no time. And I think like I felt like we were okay because I felt like, okay, once nursing school is done, we can catch up. Which, when I think about it, this sounds ridiculous to like kind of catch up with somebody emotionally.
Sure.
But at that time, that's what it felt like. So yeah, absolutely. It felt like we were roommates. But I felt like it was functional because we were trying to do what we needed to do, because that's what we had done when he was building his career. We were in the same place, but I don't know. I guess maybe it was harder for him. I don't know. I'm just guessing because I know that when our roles were reversed and I was working and he was going to school, I still felt connected to him.
Sure.
But I feel like now that the roles were reversed, it was just a lot more challenging. And I could feel like he was getting resentful because he was working 2 jobs and I was going to school. And I never addressed that resentment. I just figured, I'm almost done with school. I'll start working. Everything will be okay. And it's kind of like that mentality when you think you can catch up on your sleep. You can't.
That's right.
Yeah. You're just constantly tired and you're just like, I'll sleep later. But then it gets to the point where your body just kind of just starts to break down. And I feel like that's what happened with us. I felt like we'll catch up later. And it just got to the point where we were so far gone, I didn't even realize it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it must have been really, really tough for you, like I think naturally it's going to be really, really draining on so many levels on a day-to-day basis. One of the things that I do hear a lot is, when I speak to women is that they experience a lot of guilt and they take a lot of blame on themselves for where things got to. Did you find you were sort of in that place as well?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, after he left, I remember crying, telling my mom I should not have gone to nursing school. I would... I sacrificed my husband, I sacrificed my marriage, and when I look back at that now, I mean, I want to go, stop it.
Yeah.
But you do, I think as a woman, you do feel a lot of guilt, and you feel a responsibility to hold your family together. So even if you're working, going to school, you still have the responsibility of taking care of your marriage, taking care of yourself, taking care of your children, taking care of the house. I mean, it's this unspoken role. And I feel like when our roles were reversed and I couldn't manage all those things, it just started to just break down, and we never talked about it. And there's a lot of guilt with that.
Sure. Yeah. And once again, it's totally understandable. I think it's a natural human emotion to go down that path. But as I said, I think the thing that's been really incredible is just how you've managed to kind of go in a totally different direction. So what is it that, when you're kind of going through the process and so forth, how did it unfold for you in terms of, beginning to work on yourself, and what did you kind of discover within yourself, and how did you sort of move in that direction where you could not necessarily step into those really, really negative places all the time, but also learn how to confront those emotions in the best way that you can in order to heal yourself and grow you and become ultimately the best version of yourself amidst all of the challenges that were going on around you. Because at the end of the day, the circumstances didn't change, but you approach everything differently, right?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was just changing my perspective. Because I think, we had talked about it, like we said, the issues are still there. And there are things you cannot change, but you can change the way you look at them and you can change the way you address them. And I remember one of the challenges I had and we worked on was once I kind of got in that dark space, it was hard for me to pull myself out.
That's right.
So the hard thing was recognizing when I started to creep in there and stepping back and saying, no, I cannot go to that space and just changing the way I did things. But that was so hard, Trudy, because I remember it was work to do that because I got so used to, it's kind of like how they say misery loves company. It's like you feel sorry for yourself and then you get into that place where it's just compounding and it's so hard to get out of. But I think, when I started seeing myself go to that place, and we had talked about that, and we had worked on it to say, okay, no, I recognize that I'm starting to go down that path. Let me shift my, the way I'm looking things, or what do I need to do so that I don't go down that path again? And that was hard, but I noticed after a while it got easier and easier. So he said to me, the issues are still there. There's lots of legal issues happening now, and sometimes he'll still set me off. But now, just the way I look at it and the way I approach it is so different that things feel lighter.
Yeah.
Even though I'm in the same spot. But my outlook is so different, and it just makes the biggest difference with everything else.
I think one of the things I remember was there was one of the sessions that we did a specific clearing, a closed eye clearing session for you. And I remember you, in the subsequent days, I think we messaged each other and you were just like, oh my God, I'm just feeling so bloody light about everything and what the hell's happening. And almost as we find ourselves actually kind of sometimes sabotaging that, kind of going, what the hell? What's actually happening here, Maybe if you can tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so when that started happening, it almost scared me, oh, this doesn't seem right. And like you said, when we self-sabotage, you're so used to being in that place that it doesn't make sense for you to feel lighthearted about things because you're like, how can I go from feeling so brokenhearted and desperate to just feeling like everything's going to be okay, I can breathe and my chest doesn't hurt. And I think that was the hardest part. And it sounds stupid, but it's scary to try and be happy. It's 100%. Scary because it's comforting and it's easy to just feel horrid about the situation. But it's a scary thing to do the work and just say, I want to be happy. And I remember, it kind of freaked me out. And I was waiting for, I was just waiting for that downfall because I felt like this can't be real.
Yeah.
And I think then I realized, oh shit, I'm sabotaging myself. I'm waiting for things to be bad.
Yeah.
And I think that was another breakthrough for me was that I realized the way I was sabotaging myself. And I think that was the biggest breakthrough for me was just really looking at myself and really stepping back and seeing how I treated things and how I approached things so that when I started going down that negative path, I could step back and be like, oh no, we talked about this. Let me get myself in that space where I know what's happening, it's going to happen, but I know I'm going to be okay.
It's such an important... Sorry, carry on. What was that?
No, I mean, it's scary. It's kind of like how, I think, I forgot who told me, it's almost scary, when you get what you want. Or it's kind of like when you have a wish or dream come true, it's like, what do you do with yourself now?
Exactly.
It's because you're used to, hoping and wishing it's going to happen, and then when it happens, you're like, oh, what do I do now?
That's right. That's exactly right. Because that's the thing, the brain is not there to help you to thrive. It's always there just looking for survival. And you're seeing it right now with COVID-19. I mean, everyone is just in a state of fear and panic. And a lot of the time, it's not actually even... it is justified, but at the same time, a lot of people are seeing it worse than it actually is. Like, it is bad, no doubt about that. But even people who are fine and, you know, have enough money in the bank to be able to survive for a period of time, they're living in that terror and that panic, like it's going to last forever. And, you know, and that's what happens. That's what happens when the brain kicks in, and it just immediately focuses on, where's the danger? Oh, look out, look out, look out. And I know exactly what you're talking about as well when it comes to, you know, when we want to be happy or we get that thing that we want, and then suddenly it's going, oh, okay, like I've got that thing, now what? And then that's what I mean when we talk about the glass ceiling. You know, it's all about shattering that glass ceiling so that your new center of gravity can actually be joy. It doesn't have to be, you know, pain or you know, rejection or whatever, and constantly going back into that place and having temporary moments of happiness.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned COVID because I work on the COVID.
Yeah, exactly. I was just, yeah.
So I completely see what you're saying. And for those people, like you were saying, who they're in a position where they don't necessarily, you know, need to panic per se because they're, you know, they're financially stable. Those are the people who got all the toilet paper. Yeah. I mean, you're right. I mean, it is a serious thing, but, you know, just to compare, like, yeah, sometimes people, they want to look at the worst because it's like you're saying, it's survival mode. Like, oh, what's the worst possible thing that's going to happen? How can I protect myself? But I think what we're seeing is that, you know, like with the glass ceiling, it's weird because for me, it's glass, but I felt it. I knew it was there.
Yeah.
And it's like you live with it. You feel it, and you're just too scared to just break through it. Because once you do, it's like, what am I going to do now?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I think it's awesome, and it's really nice to just see how much you've kind of transcended a lot of your, you know, your challenges and your own pain to be able to look at in such a beautiful outlook on the world as well, which is fantastic. I was just going to quickly say, like, in terms of COVID and you know, your work and so forth, like, how's everything been going for you and work-wise? Because, you know, I really want to honor you for the work that you do, because you guys are the real heroes right now, I tell you that.
Well, I mean, I think, you know, I mean, it's been challenging because things are constantly changing.
Sure.
And, you know, like, and you see on the news with the shortages of, you know, the PPE, that's true, you know, but I think one of the benefits working together was facing this. I don't want to say it makes it easier, but it makes it more manageable.
Yes.
Because, you know, at work, I do see the panic. There are, you know, there's some nurses that, you know, don't want to work on our floor. Mm-hmm. And I can completely understand that, you know, but I think being able to just manage and just know that I recognize what's happening, but I can change the way I view it, and I can control the way I act around it. That's what gets me through the day.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, like, when I start my shift, we don't know what's going to happen. Every day they come out with new symptoms. You know, first they said it was like contact, and they said it was airborne.
Yeah.
And people were getting upset and panicked. But if you don't know, you don't know. And you take all the steps that you need to take, you know, to protect yourself. You know, it's that kind of like survival mode. But at the same time, you have to take things with a grain of salt. And you just use a little bit of common sense. Yeah. But it's hard when things are so scary.
Yes, absolutely.
And, you know, I'm on that floor every day, and I'm around it every day. And, you know, I mean, I don't take deep breaths around anybody. And, you know, if I have to go to the store, I wear a mask. But it's just little things like that. You know, and I think if I were to compare, like, COVID and what was happening with me, I mean, when you look at it from you can look at it two ways. You can look at it like, oh my God, I'm going to die. Or you can look at it like, okay, it's there. What do I need to do so that I can protect myself from it? And if I happen to be exposed to it, what am I going to do? What are my next steps? Instead of like, oh my God, somebody coughed on me. What am I going to do? What am I going to do?
Yeah.
And I think that's how I get through it, and I think that's how I get through, you know, this process, because, like I said, my circumstances haven't changed. You know, I mean, I'm still struggling. You know, right now I'm in legal proceedings because, you know, after, you know, we decided our marriage wasn't going to work. and I had so much faith that it would, but, you know, he doesn't want to do it. And that's okay. And I know it sounds so weird for you to say it, like, that's okay.
Yeah.
But, I mean, at the end of the day, I can only change myself, and I can only know who I am. I can't make him do anything he doesn't want to do. And I think, and I never got it when people said this, but she did me a favor. She did me a favor. And I never understood why people would say, like, oh, they're friends with their ex. Like, what the fuck would you want to be friends with somebody who did that to you? But I think we just, you know, changed, and we grew apart, and we were just different by the time 2 years had passed.
Yeah.
And I don't like to say it was too late, because it's never too late. But I think if you're at a place where you don't want to be there anymore, it doesn't matter how much convincing someone's going to try and do. If you're not there, you're not there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, she wasn't there, and I was just like, okay.
Yeah.
And, but, I mean, I'm in a better place now, and I cannot even imagine what it was like, how I was, you know, last year. I mean, I was in a completely different space. And this time last year, I couldn't breathe without my chest hurting. And I couldn't sleep. And, you know, now, I mean, things are still challenging, but I find joy in other things. And, you know, I mean, I work on the COVID unit, but I still sleep okay at night.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's fantastic. How do you, I mean, I think, I'm always curious, like, how do you, if you were to step into, you know, God's shoes, or, you know, the universe or whatever, if you were to look at your circumstances now, what would you say is the reason that you had to go through what you went through and are going through as well? Do you have a different perspective on all of that? Like, I think when we're in the midst of the, like, in the heat of the battle, so to speak, and in the coalface, we just can't see. We've got no sort of peripheral vision whatsoever. It's like, oh my God, my world's just falling apart, everything's just changed, etc. And I get that. But then sometimes I think we can step back once, you know, we've pushed through those really difficult times and go, actually, maybe there was a different, you know, reason, and there's a meaning behind all of that. And I guess my mind always goes back to, you know, Viktor Frankl, who was a survivor of the Holocaust. And, you know, he talks about finding meaning in, you know, a bowl of water with a fish head in it, you know, whilst all this, you know, just absolute hell was going on around him, he was still able to find some meaning in all of that. So I'm just curious what sort of meaning that you've kind of associated with all of the, you know, the challenges that you've had to go through with your marriage.
Well, I think it was like, you know, like that example of, like, you know, with the bowl and the fish, like, you see only what you want to see, what's in front of you, what's around you. And for me, I didn't like what I was looking at. And when I looked around and I looked at every possible angle, the only thing I knew that I could change was myself. Everything else would stay the same. The only way I'd be able to do that was to just really look at myself and just, you know, face myself. And that can be so challenging, because you really have to be honest with yourself, and you really have to step back and just be truthful with yourself and your bullshit.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
yep.
It's hard. I mean, it's already hard when people criticize you, but for you to look at yourself and say, yeah, I self-sabotage. I had to go through that.
Yeah.
I had to go through that challenge. And I used to hate it when people would say, like, oh, things happen for a reason. And I'm like, fuck that. Things happen because of, yeah. You know, I'm getting divorced to teach you that, you know, that you cannot tell me that this was meant to happen.
Yeah.
But for me, I had to go through that process, because for myself, if something is hard, it's almost, I don't want to say it's not worth it, but it's not as memorable.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been, to get to where I am today, took work. And I think because it took work, because it was hard, I am so much more appreciative of things around me. And it was a hard lesson learned, but, like I said, things haven't really changed for me. But the way I look at it, everything is so much different. I feel like I'm getting faced. Before, I felt like, gosh, shit, I got another email from my lawyer. Now I see it, I'm just like, all right, what do I need to do? I think that's my biggest takeaway is just, everything is perspective. You can't change anybody but yourself. And so if you want things to change for you, you got to start with yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. No, couldn't have said it better. I think it's, excuse me. I think, it really is. It's just about a mindset shift. But sometimes the deeper work, and I think that's the thing that I really admire, is that you really showed up for some of the deeper work, and can be really scary for a lot of people, like really scary. And I've seen people just walk away out of nowhere just because they're afraid of, what they might find and what they might discover. But I always believe that it's better to face up to those challenges now than to deal with the consequences down the line.
Yeah. But I think what made it a little bit more bearable is that, we took it step by step.
Yeah.
So you didn't just throw me out there and just say, okay, you gotta face your shit.
Yeah.
We took everything step by step, and there were times where I remember I'd fall back a little bit.
Yep.
And I remember we would talk about that, and we'd say that it's okay, but we would recognize that I was starting to move back. And I think that's what helped, because it's really like an individual process. And it was challenging, and I have a friend who's been divorced for 12 years, and she still feels like she's in the same place.
Yeah.
I feel so grateful because I know everybody's journey is different, but I feel like I was able to get past the biggest hurdle of it in a shorter amount of time because I did the work to face, and I did the work not just to face that, but to face myself. And I remember thinking, oh my God, I'm so grateful, because I can't imagine feeling that way for 7 to 12 years. But I think it's not uncommon, once you're in that spot, it's easy to stay there. It's harder to face your truth than it is to climb back up.
Yeah. 100%. It's actually, even in my journey, I remember there were so many times you talk about misery loves company. I almost wanted to feel like shit. I actually genuinely wanted to. I would, especially, it's kind of embarrassing, but I remember when I was a kid, or sort of late teens, and I would sit there and watch rom-com movies because I felt sad because I'd been rejected by some woman in town or whatever, and I'm going, oh God, you want to stay on that train of pain, and I see a lot of people going down that path, and obviously my heart goes out to them. But even if you can have that little mustard seed of belief or hope that you can actually get through it and push through those difficult times, it is so rewarding. And it's not, an overnight thing sometimes. Sometimes it can be. But other times it's just a slow, gradual process, and you might take 5 steps forward, and then it might feel like you're taking 6 steps back, but you're actually moving forward. And, when we actually face up to some of our demons, so to speak, that's where the magic lies, That's when, and all of the great, even religious scriptures always talk about this, about confronting the shadow and the darker aspects of ourselves. So, and I think that's what you did. You really confronted those and realized, actually, yes, it's painful, but I can still recognize that doesn't have to have control over me. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to define me anymore. I'm bigger and I'm better than that.
Yeah, and what's funny is I remember when I went through the journey with you, there were times where I felt like I was progressing, but I wasn't sure. It felt like there was a disconnect between my emotional side and my logical side. But I remember just thinking, let me just trust the process.
Yeah.
It was like nursing school, where you're just get through it.
That's it. That's it.
And I remember thinking, I don't know, it feels weird. And now in retrospect, what felt weird was feeling happy. And I know that sounds
100%. Yeah.
But I remember thinking, and I think I asked you, am I supposed to feel like this?
Yeah. Absolutely. No, you're always on the right path, and I think that's the thing is, I think what happens is when you make a decision to focus on you, then I think that's when, the universe or God or whatever you subscribe to comes in to support us on that path. But that's the hardest thing. I believe in symbolic actions. I remember before I, got together with my wife, I wrote this list and I published it onto a Facebook group about everything I wanted and everything I didn't. And that was scary as hell for me because it's like, I'm not going to post my personal details, but someone challenged me and I did. Yeah, exactly. I'm just letting it out there, putting it out there into the universal world and allowing good things to come back. And that's exactly what happened. I'm pretty sure it was like 3 or 4 days later, we end up interacting, and then the rest is history. So I think that those are the good things. Good things are bestowed upon us when we actually, step into courage and also embrace uncertainty as well. Because I think uncertainty is something that frightens us as human beings so much, and we just don't know. But I think that's what I love about your mindset. It's a huge inspiration, to me as well, because it's like just being able to just look at things and go, you know what, I don't have, like, this stuff's not kind of coming into place yet in terms of my physical circumstances, but I know that I can. Exactly. You have that faith, and I love it. It's just beautiful to see. It's really beautiful to see.
I mean, now I believe, and it's easy to say, but it's hard to do. I feel like what you put out there is what you're going to get.
Yeah.
You put in the work, you're going to get the result.
Yeah.
And it's hard because, I feel like if you want love or friendship, you should give love or friendship, and it'll come back to you. So, when you're in a bad place and you're thinking all these bad thoughts, I can't imagine now how good things will come flowing your way if you're focusing on just the bad.
Yeah.
But it can be challenging when you're like in a really shitty spot to think something like, okay, everything's going to be okay. Or, no, it's hard, but I think what makes it so rewarding is because it's so difficult, when it does come, you just cherish it. And it's, you get into that good place, you do the work to stay in that good place.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Because you remember, you will never forget how hard it is to pull yourself out of there and the work that you do. And I think if it's not hard, it's not memorable.
Exactly.
And if it's not memorable, you're not going to take care of it. You're just going to be like, eh. But if you remember how hard it was, and what you had to go through to get there, you're just going to be like, I'm fucking with this. I'm keeping the weight.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Yeah. No, you're 100% right. Through the struggle comes our greatest, joy and triumphs, right? So I think that's the beautiful thing. I know even in my life, in different areas of my life, when I've had to really struggle, like and you come out the other end, it's just such a beautiful experience, And I think we almost form a kind of a new sense of identity of who we are now because we've raised our standards as people. But I think a lot of people in general, and it's so easy to go down that train where you kind of almost lower the standards and think, okay, well, I'm sad and I'm miserable and this is just my center of gravity. But I think people like you are an inspiration and no, this can be, my new center of gravity. And it's not that we're given some sort of special powers or anything like that. Both of us are just regular human beings who have had shit in our lives and had to deal with it, but have just shown up with a little bit of courage, And I think that's the beautiful thing I see with you is just being able to show up with that courage. I'm curious, like one of the things you said before is how, people change, right? Like you and your husband sort of changed. And I want to reinforce the point that I think that's okay. Do you know what I mean? Like I think sometimes we find ourselves saying, we've married someone and we have to be with them for the rest of eternity. And, sometimes we outgrow our partners because we met them when we were young. And I forget, how old were you when you met your husband?
We were together for 15 years.
Yeah.
So I was in my early 20s.
Yeah, early 20s, right? So, early 20s and... you were young then, you were really young. And so you learned, you knew a little bit about yourself probably, but not a whole heap. And so as we continue to grow and learn more about ourselves, people change. And I think that's okay. It's okay to get to that place. So...
I completely agree. I mean, I think we just didn't grow together.
Yeah.
And I think, we started growing as individuals, instead of like, recognizing the changes, I think we just ended up just growing apart. And like, I totally believe that it's okay. Nobody ever said happily ever after was forever.
Yes.
But I am grateful.
Yeah.
I mean, I had 12 beautiful years. I mean, they were amazing years, and I'm grateful for those 12 years. But now I'm ready to do something different. But I'm still grateful for that time. I have no regret.
No, that's beautiful. And I was just going to ask, like, what does the future look like for Lisa now? Because I think sometimes when we have someone cheating on us and so forth, it can completely skew our perception of men, and they're all losers and they're all cheaters and blah, 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 right? So, because that's one thing that I hear all the time, on my Facebook comments and stuff, just people blitzing, men and all that sort of stuff, which I understand. I get it, right? So, and now Siri, for some reason, is just saying something as well. But no, like, what's your viewpoint moving forward, and what does the future look like for you?
It looks like I'm excited.
Cool.
I don't know what's in front of me, but I still believe in love.
Nice.
I still believe in marriage. I think the only difference going forward is that I may approach things differently.
Yeah.
I think I'll be more vigilant.
Yep.
I think nobody teaches you how to be married.
No, they
you
don't.
spend an entire year or two getting engaged, planning your wedding, but they don't teach you how to be married. So I think for me, I believe that I'll find love again. And, through this process, I've met people and I've gone through heartbreak, but the difference, and I remember telling you that, I had met someone that didn't work out, and my heart hurt, and I was thinking, oh God, here I go through another heartbreak. But I felt like it was a blessing, because if it didn't feel that heartache, then I would not have felt love.
That's right.
And that's an example of the way I look at things now.
That's right.
And my future, I think there's good things. I think I'm going to get past everything that's happening. I don't know when it's going to happen. I mean, shit happens and, we hit roadblocks, but I'm confident that we'll get past it. And I think my ex and I think we may not be friends, but I think we'll always be amicable. I respect him as a person, as a nurse, and, as the father of my children. But, like I said, I don't think we'll be friends, but I hope the best for him. And I'm grateful for what he gave me and what we gave each other. But I think now it's just time for us to just go on our separate ways. And I'm excited. I'm super excited. I don't know what life will bring, but I know it's going to be good things. And I hope that, the universe and God will bring me love again. And I have faith that I will love again. And, I may or may not get married, but I know there's happiness in front of me.
Beautiful.
So I'm super excited.
Oh, that's awesome, man. The thing I love about it is it's so authentic. There's no fakeness or anything about it. It's real. I know what you're saying, and how you're saying it is a complete reflection of what's on the inside as well. So there's that beautiful alignment. So, I think it's lovely to see. And, it's beautiful. I'm just really, really privileged and honored to play a little short part in your life, and seeing you be able to just soar and fly now, and start to experience that joy and that love and that happiness that I know that you deserve.
Well, I want to thank you, because I know that when I met you, it was blind faith. I was at a point where I had nowhere else to go. And I was just like, oh, he seems nice.
I'll go with that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, I was just going to ask, like, what do you say to someone who's kind of sitting on the fence? And I don't mean and even just working with me, but with anyone, just because, going and getting help is actually a really scary thing, and taking action is even scarier, So what do you say to someone who's kind of sitting on the fence and is like, oh, geez, I'm a bit scared? And, that always, like, what I notice is, people don't have faith in themselves. They think that other people can get the results, but but I can't. They often find that that's an issue, or they don't have faith in someone else to be able to guide them on their path. So I'm just kind of curious, what do you say to someone who's, sitting on the fence and is like, oh no, I don't know if this will work for me or whatever. And like I say, any type of therapy that is.
I would say feel sad, but know that you have to be ready. You don't know what's going to happen, but if you don't do anything, you're going to be in the same spot.
Yeah.
And when you're ready, you have to stand up.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know if I was ready, but I was fucking tired of sitting in that same spot.
Oh no, I can assure you were ready, and I think that's kind of why you've been able to make the progress that you have. Sometimes people aren't ready. I know that if I look back in my life, there were certain things that came at the right time, and if I had come across those 5 years before, wouldn't have made a difference because I just wasn't at that place.
Yeah, exactly. I think sometimes, like I remember telling my ex, sometimes things have to be broken into a million pieces for you to rebuild it again. And that's okay. And I felt like I was broken in a million pieces, and I just wanted to rebuild. But if I wasn't in that place, it wouldn't matter how many people spoke to me and said, no, you can do it, you can do it. I think that just would have irritated me more. I think if somebody just said, you are where you are.
Yeah.
You decide who you want to be.
Yeah.
And just left me alone, I'd be like, well, shit, aren't you going to hug me and bring me ice cream? And, aren't we going to waltz in my sadness?
Yeah.
But, I think it's tough love that somebody gives you or that you give yourself. And it is hard. I remember, it is so hard. I remember my mom was so scared for me because she said, I never saw you that sad before. I didn't know what was going to happen. I was ready because for me at least, I hit rock bottom and I was broken in a million pieces.
Yeah.
And I think that's the reason why I was able to do it. But yeah, that's what I would say.
No, beautiful. That's great. No, look, you're a huge inspiration to everyone. I know lots of people will watch this video in the coming days and so forth and just, really see the purity of your soul and just the love and the light that you sort of shine. It's lovely to see, and I'm just so proud of you and your growth as a woman and as a mother. And I'm really excited to just hear about all the wonderful stories, in the future, because there's no one that tells a story like you do, Lisa. It's really beautiful to see.
After we had a session and I was trying to explain to you how I felt, and I was trying to describe, I was like, those airy things that do this? And then I properly described it to you, so I sent you a picture, and it was like those plastic things that kind
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was funny. No, but look, thank you, and look, thank you for placing your faith in me, this random guy from New Zealand. But I really appreciate it. I'm really privileged to have played a small part in your life and on your journey as well. So, keep doing all the amazing stuff that you're doing. For all those of you watching now, I hope you've got plenty out of it. And, I'm sure that you'll derive a lot of inspiration from someone like Lisa. And, look, as always, I'm here to serve you. I'm here to help. If you ever want to have a chat, to discuss your situation, see if, my program can help you, I'll leave my details below and you can click on and book a time with me and we can see if it works for you. If not, that's totally cool as well. So, thank you again. Thank you, Lisa, for your time. I'm sorry we've gone a little bit over, a little bit of technical issues, but thank you so much. And what's that, sorry?
We would always go over our time.
Yes, that's true. Yes, that's true. No, but thank you so much, and God bless you, and just keep shining that light. And thank you for all the work that you do with with COVID-19 as well.
Oh, you're welcome. Glad to help, and thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.